Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance.
Just a bit of reaction outside the Gas Club after today's 3-0 defeat by Chelsea. I've got Ollie from the Cowshed Loyal. I suppose first thing before we start talking about the game, how did you gauge the atmosphere today, pre-match and during the match?
I'll be totally honest with you, we've definitely had better days in the South Stand, especially. Like, it's very, very difficult when you're going in at half-time 2-0 down. I know it's no excuse. We try to back the lads regardless. We try to keep the continuous flow of chants coming from the front of the stand, but ultimately I think English atmospheres tend to be more reactive to the things that are happening out on the pitch.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought the second goal just kind of kills off. I mean, the banners, there's a lot of new banners. I love that Johnny Ogg banner. That looked absolute class. There was so many new banners. They were electric and that as well. And honestly, when I got in the ground about 20 or 3 and it filled up late, does our ground. I never normally get in that kind of early, but part of me thought, God, where is everyone? But yeah, when we got there, it was rocking. But I don't know what you thought, but I thought first half hour, I thought we started, really well. The team was a surprise, I think, to us all. What did you think when you got your text at 2 o'clock with that team? A bit of a curveball, that.
Well, I was in the Gas Club, I was in the queue for the pint, and somebody said that, Hamer had started in goal, so instantly I was like, wow, Wagner's thrown a bit of a curveball there. I know he hinted at starting Hamer in his pre-match interview, but I was surprised that he did actually start with him. Playing with no out-and-out wingers surprised me. We're playing with 2 wing-backs, but at the end of the day, it's not quite the same as having Diakabi or one of the other lads bombing down the flanks, and that for me was a bit of a surprise, because the one thing that we seemed to do last season against the top 6 was have a bit of an outlet going forward. I think today we kind of lacked that, but I have to give credit to Chelsea. They weren't on top, they weren't dominant in the game as such, but they were clinical and they took their chances.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it was disappointing, that first goal. He kind of seemed to get Billing. I've seen the goal back. Billing kind of seemed to lose his man and Kante kind of hit it into the ground. Really, it was a bit disappointing, but I mean, there'd been some warning signs since then. I mean, Congolo, what a tackle that was, absolute certain goal.
That's what you pay the money for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was certain. What were your view on the penalty? I've seen it back, so kind of my views kind of been a bit skewed with that, but at the first I thought it looked a penalty. Schindler didn't really complain. He kind of seen it again, he kind of got his foot on top of the ball, but it'd have been interesting what VAR would have said. But how did you see it?
Well, it's one of those things I'd have to see a replay. I haven't seen a replay of it yet, but when the incident happens in real time, you're always going to back your own player, and from what I saw, he got enough of the ball for it not to be a penalty. But at the end of the day, I'd love to see it again. I think when you go sort of over the top of the ball, like you mentioned, I think the referee's always inclined to see it to the attacker's side. But it's one of those things where another day we might have not got that decision. But
it destroyed us, really. I thought that on half time you go in 2-0, you're kind of up against it and that as well. I mean, I had a couple of guys kind of texting me, really disappointed, saying we were playing containing, a bit negative, Town fans these, and they're really disappointed. I think we all wanted maybe to see maybe 1, maybe 2 of the signings start, and I was surprised at anyone with the lineup. But I think if you go like bombing forward against Chelsea, I think they'd have picked you off at will. I can kind of get the view. Maybe I'd like to have seen one of the wingers start, but I didn't have a problem personally, and I thought we give as good as we got in that first half hour. I didn't think we were negative. Yeah, we were never saw much of the ball, but we were never gonna really.
Well, my opinion, sort of based on what Wagner did last season, was that he developed by the end of the season a clear strategy against the top 6 sides, and that was to try and play and contain and to play what was on paper a sort of 3-5-2, but in actual fact was more like a 5-3-1-1 kind of formation. He started with that today without any pace out wide or anything like that, and if you're being overly critical, you can criticise him for saying it was a bit negative and we should have tried to be a bit more positive in the first game, playing with natural wingers, etc. But ultimately, at Chelsea away last season, at City away towards the end of the season, it worked. We got the points that we needed from that, and I think today, like you say, we got unlucky with that first goal, which Kante scuffed into the ground. A penalty decision that could have gone either way, and we're 2-0 down at half time, and all of a sudden for me the game's beyond us now.
Yeah, I mean, the game kind of just meandered. I thought, for 20-25 minutes second half, if I were going to be critical of Wagner, I'd like to have seen Diakabi or maybe Sobri on a bit. It's 10 minutes early really for Diakabi. I thought when he came after 70 minutes, he didn't do a right lot, but I just thought he pushed the button a bit late there, Wagner, but it's mostly a small criticism really. Do you agree with that?
No, I totally agree with that. I do. I can understand bringing on a second striker, because if you're going to play with sort of a 5-3-2, you might as well have two out-and-out strikers. But at the end of the day, that wasn't what we were missing. We were missing some kind of probing balls from the wide areas. They ended up coming in towards the end of the game, but not from the players that you'd expect. And ultimately, I think what we needed is someone to run beyond the knock-ins. Like in pre-season out in Germany and stuff, the one thing that happened that sort of really impressed me was Mounier and Depoitre going up for headers, and we had Diakabi running in behind, someone to run onto the flick-ons, and I feel like that would have given us a useful outlet, more so than Pritchard to start the game. But I think a lot of it has to do with fitness. Wagner perceives fitness as a huge thing. As you've seen with Mourinho against Leicester, he was talking about how he's not starting players because they're not 100%, so they can't give him 90 minutes. I think that today for Town's new look squad, it was perhaps a week too early.
Yeah, I mean that's the only reason I think really for kind of the team selection. Maybe he wanted to be loyal to those guys who'd done the job last season. Obviously Hamer come in, which didn't totally surprise me. I did wonder whether he would start the game, and a bit nervy early on with his kicking, but he couldn't really do much with any of the goals, to be honest with you, on that as well. I thought 2-0's a funny lead, isn't it? I mean I just thought if we could have got one back, because it didn't look likely. We had a little bit of a burst, kind of 70 to 75 minutes, but you never know then all of a sudden they're coasting. But it was not a bad sub to bring on Eden Hazard. Ridiculous. I mean, what must you think as a player when you look at the sidelines? You're absolutely shattered, and then you see Eden Hazard, and it was incredible. I mean, for the goal, he could have gone Morata. Obviously, passed it the other way, and 3-on-1. Yeah, we were dead. But I just think though that we were chasing the game, and I felt if we'd have maybe been a bit more offensive, others would maybe disagree in the first half. Maybe that could have happened earlier, but. Yeah, disappointing. These aren't the games really. I don't think where we're going to live or die by. It would have been nice to get off to a good start, but not kind of happened that way. Who was your best player today?
Do you know what? It's kind of difficult to pick. I mean, we've conceded 3 goals, but I'd certainly be picking between Congolo and Schindler. I think they held us together at times, and he made some amazing last-ditch tackles. I'd throw Moy and Hogg in there as well, to be honest. If I had to pick one, I'm gonna say Hoggy. Yeah,
he had a strong game. I thought at times Phil Billing kind of got about the pitch, makes tackles. The one thing that does frustrate me last season, I think he did a little bit today, he gives the ball away.
Switches off.
Yeah, he switched the ball. I mean, he switched off when everyone sees the goal back. The first goal, you'll see that kind of ball watching really, and that as well, and it cost us. But yeah, I thought there were a bit to build on. But yeah. And obviously now we've got a nice easy game next Sunday to get back on the road. It's a bit harsh, this Premier League life, isn't it?
Well, I'll take another point. If you offer me another 0-0, I'd absolutely take that. But yeah, I think as you mentioned earlier, these aren't the kind of games that are going to define our season. At the end of the day, we could lose today, we could lose next week as we'd expected to. We could come home against Cardiff, beat them like we're meant to. We're on 3 points off 3 games. We're on course for 38. You know what I mean? That's the nature of the Premier League.
The vibe seems quite good in the Gas Club, just talking to a few people. I think a lot of people have got this reality check now with Premier League. They get that today. I know it sounds negative or what have you, but get that today. It's unlikely we're going to get a result. I must admit I was kind of excited that way maybe we could get something, but I mean the way they passed the ball, that they were just a lot kind of slicker, a lot more better than what we are really. There's nothing you can do, and it's just a shame really. I think next week we've not got kind of a game at Southampton or Watford or someone like that, but
easier start.
Yeah, it is, but I suppose Cardiff maybe is where it starts in a couple of weeks, although you don't want to write games off as we saw last season when we got them 2 amazing results at City and Chelsea.
Well, yeah, this is it. I mean, I said to people before this game, I said, realise that there is optimism around the club, but at the end of the day we have to remain humble, and we have to realise that we are kind of in a separate league to the top 6 at the moment, and even the top 8, the likes of bloody Everton, who are spending ridiculous amounts of money, etc. It's not all about money, as we've realised, but at the end of the day, yeah, I did think that we were playing Chelsea at kind of the right time, because they've got a project that they're trying to sort of bed in, and they've got a new manager, and they looked so poor in that Community Shield game. I thought this might be the time to play Chelsea, first game of the season. But also, looking at the flip side, we ran into a Chelsea team with a point to prove, and they've gone out there and done it today, fair enough. But next week it is what it is. I don't expect us to pull off another miracle. But like I said, those aren't the games that are going to define our season. We need to now readjust focus for when we play Cardiff at home, and that all of a sudden becomes a very important game.
Yeah, Mr. Warnock returns in a couple of weeks, so look forward to that. But yeah, disappointing today. We live to fight another day, and thanks for listening.